The Air Force has brought in a former Pentagon official to help negotiate with Boeing. The Air Force's complex effort to put new engines and radars on its 1960s-era B-52 Stratofortresses is running billions of dollars over budget, according to service officials. The service wants to upgrade the venerable bomber so it can keep it flying for another 3 decades, to serve alongside the B-21 Raider as B-1 Lancer bombers and B-2 stealth bombers retire in the early 2030s. But the plan to replace the B-52's current Pratt & Whitney TF-33 engines with Rolls-Royce F-130 engines and replace the radar with Raytheon's Active Electronically Scanned Array Radar, called AESA, is already being hit with schedule delays and a growing price tag. The latest estimate for the B-52's Commercial Engine Replacement Program, or CERP, has jumped to $15 billion, up $2.5 billion from the original estimate. Brian Knight, Deputy Senior Material Leader for the B-52 program, told reporters at the Air Force's Life Cycle Industry Days conference. However, the Air Force is still refining its estimates and waiting for new proposals from Boeing, Knight said, so that price could change. And the program isn't as easy as slapping new engines on the jet, Knight pointed out. The B-52 needs to be reworked to hold the new engines, and CERP includes an update to the cockpit, displays, and other systems. The engine replacement program is also facing a 3-year delay, according to a June Government Accountability Office report. Delays, in part, have been caused by the Air Force transitioning CERP from a mid-tier acquisition program to a major defense program, which meant that work had to be moved into the current contract. Because of that, it created, I'll say, the opportunity for the prime contractor to raise costs. If you will, it just became unaffordable, Knight said. The program also had to redesign the engine inlet, and that is added to the delays because the service has to test the new design in wind tunnels, which aren't available that often, said Brig General Eric Quigley, the Air Force's Program Executive Officer for Bombers. Recent estimates to replace the B-52's radar have jumped to $3.3 billion, up from the original $2.3 billion price tag, Knight said. That is moving the radar upgrade closer to a critical cost overrun, called a Nunn-McCurdy breach, he said, but that hasn't happened yet. The program is hoping to save money and time by purchasing long lead parts for the radar, and is working with Air Force Global Strike Commander General Thomas Bussiere to relook at some of the requirements that maybe are not operationally needed, or too restrictive that's actually slowing down some of the design of the engine replacement, Quigley said. Boeing also changed its B-52 program leadership and brought in a seasoned program manager who was holding a weekly schedule review board with his teams, Quigley said. When we say things like, the B-52 will have fighter-like capabilities in the future, that is what we mean. Eventually, the B-52 will be able to have some sense of a fighter-like capability and some of that visualization that is currently in the F-18 platform, Wong said. The Air Force brought in former Pentagon official Shay Assad to assist with B-52 negotiations, Quigley said. Assad, who is known in the Pentagon for driving hard bargains with industry, was also enlisted to help with these 7 negotiations, after the service was struggling to reach an agreement with Boeing on the price of the new radar plane. I don't want to speak disparagingly against Boeing or anything, but I mean, the government had our own issues, too. It's about efficiencies. A lot of it is on the business end of things, how we do pricing, how we do proposals, how we do contracting, Quigley said when asked why the Air Force brought in Assad on the program. Despite the growing cost and schedule delay, the service has no choice but to modernize the B-52 fleet, Quigley said, calling it a no-fail mission. We learn faster and we're able to adjust quicker when we're talking about models than when we are learning after we bend metal, she told reporters last week at the Air Space Forces Association's annual Air Space Cyber Conference. The virtual environment gives the Air Force unprecedented access to the modifications early on and gives Boeing feedback well before they begin upgrading aircraft, Wong said. This is part of a modernization effort called the Commercial Engine Replacement Program, or CERP, which will replace the 8 Pratt & Whitney TF-33 engines on each jet to keep the bomber flying. The program is much bigger than just engine replacement, Wong said, as Boeing will also update the displays, cockpits, and other avionics systems in the plane. Rolls-Royce is on track to complete initial engine testing by the end of the year and begin critical design review in the first quarter of 2024. Boeing will also replace the B-52's current radars with Raytheon's active electronically scanned array radar, called AESA. The radar is already used in the U.S. Navy's F/A-18E and F Super Hornets. The new radar will enable the B-52 to track multiple targets simultaneously, Wong said. Other upgrades in the radar program include a new wideband radome, which protects the radar antenna, large touchscreen digital displays for the navigators, and hand controllers.